Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Social Work England session. I'm Kate Metcalfe. I'm the Regional Engagement Lead for the South of Social Work England, and I'm a registered social worker, and I'll be introducing this session to you. So hopefully you've got a drink and you're relaxed and comfortable for the next hour. We're together for an hour on this session. It's part of Social Work Week. It's back again, and you can talk about coming along to this session by using the hashtag Social Work Week 2024. So do use that if you're on any of the social media platforms to talk about what learning you've had on any of the sessions you come to this week, including this one. So we're just going to wait a little bit longer until we've got more people in. And as you can see on the slide there, this year's themes are bringing people together to learn, connect and influence change, and that theme runs throughout the week at Social Work Week 2024. And you can find out much more about Social Work Week and all the other work that coincides with that from Social Work England if you go to our website, and the address is there on the screen for you. So without further ado, I'm going to just take us through a bit of housekeeping, which we just need to cover off before I introduce you to our guest speakers today. So a quick legal disclaimer, any views, information or opinions expressed by third parties during Social Work Week are the speaker's own. They don't necessarily reflect the views of Social Work England or its employees, and we haven't endorsed any third party content. Social Work England doesn't accept liability for the content of third party or sector-led sessions during Social Work Week. Your privacy is very important to us. By providing any personal information like your name or your email address for this session, you are agreeing for us to contact you for the purposes of event management and evaluation. Your information will be used solely by us for the purpose it's collected, and we'll retain that for up to 3 years in accordance with our data retention schedule. And just, a little bit on etiquette. So social work is complex. Sometimes the nature of it and the content can be triggering, and we want you to be okay. So if there's any triggers in today's content for you, please do be mindful of that and do whatever you need to do to look after yourself. Respect each other. If contributing today's session, we have to reserve the right to remove people if there's any inappropriate conduct that's disruptive. And we really want to know what you think about all the sessions at Social Work Week, including this one. So if you've got any feedback, you can email us on socialworkweek@socialworkengland.org.uk, and we will be posting a survey and a feedback form at the end of this session. We'd love to hear from you. So that's quite enough from me. Without further ado, I'm going to ask our presenters to introduce themselves and take you through this great session about what is next for adult social work and adult mental health and adult social care.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to this afternoon session. What next for adult and mental health social work and adult social care in 2024? My name's Jason Brandon. I am the mental health social work lead. I'm based in the Chief Social Worker's Office in the Department of Health and Social Care, and I'm delighted to be joined by a group of colleagues, professional leads, experts by experience and regulators to work through a very full session for the next hour, which I believe is thoroughly in tune with the theme of Social Work Week around learning, connecting and influencing. I've put a note to myself, which is a bit cryptic on that slide, which is the compass. The compass being a prompt for me to remind us that the way in which we've approached this question, which I'm sure you'll agree is hugely ambitious, and one which I'm sure you've come with immense expectation for us to get out our crystal ball, from very much a professional perspective. My esteemed Director of Adult Social Care in Hampshire, Graham Allen, was always one to actually describe and be very real about these large questions and speak very much less about the destination, but very much about the direction of travel, and if you forgive me to use the word, the journey. We are all on this bus traveling with a huge amounts of commitment and dedication, and we want you to take away with some sense and assurance that social work is very loud and proud and very visible in a number of different spaces. And certainly across this leadership group here, I'm sure we're going to be able to share with you views of people who experience services, our PSW colleagues, our AMP lead colleagues, and as I say, our colleagues from Social Work England. So massive thanks to Social Work England for organising this really stimulating set of sessions this week. And I'm sure you'll all be looking to see the breadth of other sessions across the sector, which will be really relevant to what we do as social workers. If we can go to the next slide, please. I'm going to talk through just a few introductory slides, and then I'm going to hand over to colleagues to introduce themselves as they take their turn for the next hour or so. But I wanted to take a moment just to pay tribute to our chief social worker who retired at the end of January, Lynn Romeo. So on the shoulders of Lynn Romeo, we are able to convey a variety of different information and developments this afternoon, all relating to the dedication and commitment that she brought to the profession. And I really want to kind of tip my hat and recognise all of the amazing work that she did for us all, and in so doing forged the role and the identity of the Office for the Chief Social Worker, of which you'll see I put a slide on here. In the interest of time, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but the Office of the Chief Social Worker sits in the Department of Health and Social Care. It very much is about providing that professional social work voice to be in the ear of the Minister, to be able to advise the Minister and civil servants. It provides that professional social work leadership alongside the Chief Nurse's Office in the Adult Social Care Department and beyond across DHSC. And it offers challenge and it offers opportunity to develop different products alongside other policy work streams, very much about promoting the social work, professional social work agenda, raising awareness about the profession and how it can work to improve alongside people's lives. Next slide, please. So this afternoon, I've mentioned we are going to be joined by Jack Savage, who is going to be bringing her lived experience and expertise, bringing practice to life in social care. Hannah Scaife and Sarah Range, the co-chairs of the PSW network, will be bringing their perspectives, joined also by Christina Cheney and Robert Lewis from their roles as the co-chairs of the AMP Leeds network. Paul Peros, leading on regulation around mental health aspects of development, is joining us, and I will be summing up. If I can go to the next slide. So just a couple of slides before I hand over to Jack in earnest. And this really, if we're thinking about the context of what next in adult social care, I would advise and I would thoroughly recommend that you take a moment to look at the really excellent work carried out by ADAS in their Time to Act and the Road to Recovery roadmap. Some really stimulating and challenging recommendations across the different 10 points in that document. And I'd also encourage you to look at the work from the Office of the Archbishop of Canterbury around care and support, social care reimagined, around the proposed care covenant. Some really important strategic pieces. But from a government policy perspective, in regard to the more immediate next steps, which we know are laid out in their 10-year vision, I thought it was helpful to just make reference to some of these I statements. And what you can't see in yellow on the bottom of that slide is where the government have said that we want people to be supported to be independent in their communities, able to do the things that matter to them, that maximize their well-being. People might have been overprescribed, have been overprescribed their care in the past, and our priority is promoting strength-based commissioning with prevention at the centre. And for truly people-centred care, adult social care needs to be joined up with other functions and systems, including health, housing and children's services, believing that the voluntary sector has a key role to play in achieving this vision through locally delivered approaches like local area coordination and adopting models of care such as shared lives. So if I can go to the next slide, I think much of that resonates with the principles and values that we all aspire to. And if we were to look at something akin to the Yellow Brick Road and some sort of a roadmap from a policy perspective, again, in no particular order, we can see that the government have laid out this 10-point vision, this 10-year vision, I beg your pardon, where it refers to the requirement for additional funding, the emphasis on the need for an improved data set, the absolute fundamental role of the workforce and the need to develop the adult social work and social care workforce, thinking about digitizing the sector, and building on that digitization in respect to technology and innovation. And again, I was going to say finally, but actually there's no consecutive or chronological order, as I say, to these different points, because they are all interchangeable. The need for a housing collaboration between the accommodation and social care needs of people who draw on services. So I'm hoping now at that point in the slides, that's setting the context for the world, the operating world that we're living in at the moment. And I'd really like to hand over to Jack Savage, who is our professional expert and who will come to talk to us about her experience and also what next for social work. Jack, are you there?
Hi, Jason. Thank you.
Fabulous. Over to you.
My camera working now. Can I have the next slide, please? My survival isn't merely about emerging unscathed, because I didn't. I encompassed enduring, evolving, and each year becoming stronger than the year before, overcoming repeated traumas. It embodies the bravery to navigate and cope with changes, the tenacity to persist when all seems lost, and to never give in when faced with profound challenges. To simplify life so you could cope and reflect, embracing opportunities to step back and reflect. To be a survivor is to wear scars as emblems of strength and to recognise the power within me, to reshape my own narrative with every step I've taken forward. Every day is a firefight. The same can be said for the future of social care. The what next must carry forward the importance of how much growth the sector has made, achieved, and build upon it. To see the value in investing in retention before revolution. That investment lies within future-proofing delivery, using new technologies, working with partners across health, housing, and co-producing change. To see the value in taking stock, celebrating and owning growth, concentrating on future-proofing capacity to meet need, and investing and looking after the workforce. Reflect and appreciate how far it has come and set out what's next. Next slide, please. I've put for you on screen a little bit about my journey in terms of my life experience, worked experience, and lived experience. I've spent the last few years working to bring lived experience to life in social care and social work practice. And through sharing my own lived experiences of children's services as a child, my worked experience of the sector of 30 years, including my last 8 years living with acquired illness and disability, drawing upon social care as an adult, being an RPR for my father-in-law who had dementia. I'm a wife and a mother. I'm physically disabled, ill, suffering with depression, anxiety, and severe PTSD. I overcome every day fueled by my family, my 4 brilliant PAs, and an excellent social worker, and a very, very supportive counsellor. I could never have achieved this next bit without it. I'm a social care consultant, an individual employer of my team of 4 PAs funded through direct payments. And for those who know some or all of my journey in this sector, know I'm incredibly proud to be in it and enthusiastic about it. I'm now going into local authorities to provide workshops to the social care workforce on my journey. And public speaking about innovation, survival, change, and co-production, amongst many other things, using my adversity for their change, bringing practice to life in social care and celebrating impactful social work practice. Next slide, please. I wouldn't be here without transformational social work. I see it countrywide in practice, how chameleon-like services have become, adapting and delivering transformational, dynamic and fluid practice that bends and flexes and responds to societal change and economic pressure. The what's next for adult and mental health social work and adult social care in 2024? Quite a vast question, and I'm sure everyone here can answer it differently. I've got my own ideas and own answers of what I would like to see, and that starts with my gate. These 4 areas are what I would like to see and focus to remain on for the workforce and citizens who draw on support like me. I describe workforce fatigue as something that sets in like thick gravy, flooding a lovely dinner, and before you know it, what's under the gravy just can't be seen. Dealing with work when you feel pressured or undervalued or run down can make your day feel like an absolute compost heap. It can feel like that to those who draw on support too as well at times. And it's important to acknowledge this for both. So it can be said that I see the future of social care focusing on workforce investment and investment in the quality of people's support, both the foundation stones of the sector. G is growth. And for the workforce, I think greater investment in year-round professional development outside practice weeks. More contact between those that draw on support and those that deliver upon it. And it, you know, in terms of getting people together about us delivering this in dedicated learning spaces, co-producing change together. We look after the current workforce role pressures and well-being to boost retention. And G for citizens, well, it's recognised the potential worth and value of peer-to-peer mentoring, how we could help one another and how it could benefit and answer more problems in social care. How it could change, have benefit to local service delivery and ease the social care journey of other citizens through inspiration or advocacy. A, that's definitely for assessments. For the workforce, the recent work and guidance on proportionate assessments is fully embraced. Please download it now if you haven't got it. And we'll start to see the development of innovative technologies to data collect. I'd love an app. I'd love to be able to contact a social worker with an update on a quick app that they could pick up another time. So apps and embedding meaningful resources to enable the workforce to deal with caseloads in a unique way as well. But for citizens, their assessments, that every citizen have a choice of how and when to complete those assessments, that they yield benefit of the same guidance being embedded, and that the review process becomes less worrying, and more importantly, Care Act assessments are given in advance for time to consider needs beforehand more meaningfully. T is definitely for time. It's been an ongoing thing since I started speaking about social care. For the workforce, more time enabled for social workers' diaries when conducting face-to-face assessments, to ensure that they remain unrushed and are co-produced as a process. Schedule time to decamp as well, and time to be innovative. Citizens, for tea time as well, that we work on guidance and using alternatives to working out support plans using blanket approaches like half an hour for personal care, half an hour for tea. Time-driven indicative budget calculations means we're not fully personalising support. 10 more minutes in places can really achieve thriving. E is enable, and for the workforce, it's the embedding of more joined up work that promotes relationship between better care equals and improves well-being and health. An increase of sharing real-life examples of what living with mental health conditions are like to aid planning for this support while meeting any physical support needs. E, enable citizens. The guidance emerges on the consideration of emotional well-being and growth and re-ablement principles and how these can be supported in Care Act assessments and other processes that contribute towards meaningful support planning. Value placed on people's potential to improve mental health and physical health, helping people to achieve their potential. As we continue collectively as a sector to move away and move forwards and look at the way that we co-create together, befitting with this year's theme of World Social Work Day. We're all collectively reminded that co-production should be at the core of everything we do. Bringing the voices and experiences of those with lived experience and those in receipt of services, and continue the excellent work that's already being done of embedding them at the centre of social care practice. Both social work practice and social care delivery have at their core joins core principles that desire to improve lives. Let's restock, let's look after and invest in workforce further. It's the most poignant ask for what I should be doing next in social care and what everybody should be doing. With this said, I believe the gate should be seen as us, as a sector, building upon our collective work and just progress it further, but take stock of the progress made and give ourselves credit for that. We must look back, reflect on the wins as well, because they pave the way forward before we even open the gate to a fresh new year. Replenish, re-energise, recycle what has worked on a much larger scale. I'd like to leave my segment now with my next slide, and it's a thank you to the workforce of social work and social care for everything that you do. And it's about retaining the brilliance, I hope, in the future within the sector. Thank you. You might need to press play in the centre of the...
I just wanted to thank you all for your professional approach and ethical way, your pursuit of equality, guiding when all we see is night, for dissipating looming clouds, your relentless help in crisis, help to feel safe, for fair decision-making, and for making waves. Your clear, correct advice, for steadying boats, calmer seas and sunshine, seeing beneath complex layers, in control with easy, friendly balance, for moving mountains, creating trust, making things possible, for your planning, for being patient, making us comfortable. We are shredded. You rebuild. We are in danger. You enable rescue. Then you repeat for others in need, enabling us to write the next chapter and go on to achieve You are an army of angels. With passion for the right thing. For real change. Enabling courage. Making us believe. For building hope. Thank you for what you do for the profession.
Jack, thank you so much. I'm looking for the emoji at the top of the screen that I haven't got to give you a virtual round of applause. That was really stimulating, and I can just feel myself having a big smile on my face. It was really, really innovative. And very much a takeaway where you say, actually, what next in social work will mean different things to different people. That's really, really helpful. Thank you. So can I now hand over to Sarah and Hannah, who are our Principal Social Work Chairs of the network, looking forward and back. Thanks both.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Jack. It's always brilliant to work alongside you, and I feel a little bit emotional having watched your video. And we definitely embrace your suggestions and totally agree that co-production should be at the core of all that we do. Thank you so much, Jason, and Social Work England as well, for inviting us to take part in this webinar. It's fantastic to be a part of Social Work Week, embracing our wonderful profession. Sarah and I will spend a few minutes exploring the role of the Principal Social Worker Network, what we've achieved in 2023, and our plans for 2024. Next slide, please.
So hi everyone, I'm Sarah Range, Principal Social Worker for Southend. So this is our leadership team on the screen in front of you. So Hannah and I are co-chairs, and we're joined by Paula Swift, who we'll speak a little bit about in a minute, Kate Concannon and Gavin Butler. So for those of you who don't know, the Adult Principal Social Work Network is a collective of over 150 social workers and social work leads, both within local authorities and within the NHS. Hannah and I are the two current co-chairs, and we're just coming to the end of our 2-year tenure, where Kate and the very mysterious Gavin will become the new co-chairs. Paula has taken on a new role that we've created within the chairing team as a representative of social work within the NHS. We found it so valuable that we've changed our constitution, so we'll always have a social work lead from the NHS within our chairing team going forward. And this is because we want the leadership team to be as representative and unifying as possible. Next slide, please.
Thank you. So for the past 2 years, we've been working on the priorities that you can see here, with an overarching focus on compassionate leadership and well-being, and equality, diversity and inclusion. We were really conscious that we were leading post-pandemic during really challenging times, where people were experiencing the cost of living crisis. There's huge disparities and inequality within the profession, as well as within the communities that we serve, and increasing workforce challenges. We've been so impressed with the leadership that PSWs have continued to show and the creativity with which they've adapted to ever-changing circumstances, particularly now as they are leading many aspects of the new local authority assurance process by CQC. Next slide, please. We strongly believe that social work is one profession, and we're so pleased to have had opportunities to work together across adults, children's and families and NHS practice with some brilliant partners, many of whom we've listed here. A key relationship for us is with the Chief Social Worker for Adults, and the network has been so well supported by Lynn Romeo, and it was an honour to work closely with her and to support her with the Chief Social Worker priorities. We're excited to meet the next Chief Social Worker and to continue this strong relationship of social work professional leadership. Next slide, please.
So to respond to the various challenges and opportunities of the last 18 months, we wanted to share with you some of our Principal Social Work Network activities. We have a great relationship with the Principal Children's and Families Chairs, and we've been jointly sitting on the Workforce Roundtable chaired by Social Work England and co-chairing the Anti-Racist Steering Group, as well as running joint network events in July when the two PSW networks come together. For us, workforce and inequality are interlinked, and we believe if we can create the right conditions for all social workers to feel valued, recognised, and to support progress, we will start to address many of our workforce issues. To raise the profile of social work practice, we wrote chapters for the Principles of Practice book, which was launched at the Tavistock and was a Social Work England Social Work Week event webinar last year. The network was also represented in Spain, sharing with colleagues the benefits of the Principal Social Work Network role. We also wrote an open letter to the ministers about the importance of social workers within the hospitals. And as you can see, we've done various other tasks and achieved other elements that are laid out on the slide. Next slide, please. So what's our further impact and difference? And with the Chief Social Worker, the Principal Occupational Health Network, and with Jack, we're really proud to have co-wrote the Proportional Assessment Approaches Guidance, which Jack's already given a plug for earlier, which has been published by the Department of Health and Social Care. It's a really key document that we hope brings life into our practice in terms of highlighting the importance of planning how to approach working with a person, creating the right conditions for great relationship-based social work with choice and control. So on the slide, you'll see various other elements that we contributed to over the last year. And these are just a sample of some of the things we've been doing over the last year. Next slide, please. Okay, so we've also been supporting the great work of our colleagues in Bradford, and we're really excited that later this week we're going to take part in the Promote the Vote session, which is something that Hannah and I and the rest of the network are extremely passionate about, because voting really is the gateway to human rights and embracing and supporting human rights. So that webinar will be later this week, and also this year we're going to build on this with a webinar to launch some brilliant practice guidance along with BASWA and LD England. So there will be a guide coming out at the end of this week, which will be easily downloadable on the BASWA website, and we will be sharing it in social media as well. And it's a brilliant example of joint activism and social justice. Next slide, please.
So where next? As chairs, we've decided to continue to build on our previous priorities as they still feel relevant and right. As leaders, we'll be acting to reduce the disparities that exist everywhere you look within social work. We will be co-producing practice guidance for social workers and managers about anti-racist practice, supporting LGBTQ+ people and disability equality. We've listened to messages from research, reports such as the Skills for Care, Social Care, Workforce Race Equality Standards report that was published last week, and the voices of disabled social workers. We've heard that social workers believe themselves to be anti-oppressive, but this is not, in fact, always translated into our work and our workplaces, despite some great initiatives such as Diverse by Design and inspiring leadership from social workers such as Wayne Reed, Shabnam Ahmed, Chantel Thomas, Beverly Tarker, Caroline Barrier, Glory Simango, and Tanya Moore, and many, many more. We must act on the headlines from the res, which were that if you're a colleague from a Black, Asian and minority ethnic background, you're half as likely to be appointed from shortlisting in the last 12 months compared to a white member of staff. You're 40% more likely to enter the formal disciplinary process compared to white staff. You're more than twice as likely as a regulated professional to enter the fitness to practice process in the last 12 months compared to white staff. You're 20% more likely to have experienced harassment, bullying, or abuse from service users, relatives, or the public in the last 12 months compared to white staff. And you're 30% more likely as a colleague and 90% more likely as a manager to have experienced harassment, bullying, or abuse from colleagues and managers in the last 12 months compared to white staff. And unsurprisingly, you're 10% more likely to leave the organisation during the last 12 months compared to white staff. We've committed to take action to change this. We want the social work profession to be an inclusive place where everyone thrives. You'll hear shortly from our colleagues from the AMP Leads network, and we will be aiming to strengthen partnership working with the PSW network and social work within the NHS, as we believe we're stronger together and can create a really strong narrative about the wonderful contributions social work makes in all contexts. Within the proportional assessments guidance, we've started to consider how we work, and this feels of growing importance as we become used to hybrid working, consider the relationship social work wants to have with artificial intelligence, and also the context of working within extraordinary financial pressures. And finally, going back to Jack's message to us, we aim to build further co-production within social work, within the PSW network, and also to use our platform to champion and amplify the voices of those with lived expertise of social care and social work, and the leadership that they can provide to us about the future of social work. If you have ideas you'd like to share with the PSW network, please do contact us. You can find us on Twitter and LinkedIn, and we'd really love to hear from you. So thank you very much for your time today. It's fantastic that so many of you have shown such an interest in the direction of travel of adult and mental health social work. Enjoy the rest of Social Work Week, and we'll hand over now to our colleagues, Christina and Robert.
Hi, many thanks. Yes, hello everyone, and happy Social Work Week. I'm not sure I've ever said that out loud before, hope it's only Monday, so hopefully there's a great week ahead. My name is Robert Lewis, and along with my colleague Christina Cheney, who you will get to hear from in a moment, I am a co-chair of the National AMHP Leads Network. And just to be clear, AMHP stands for Approved Mental Health Professional, of course. You'll see lots of different versions, but it's definitely Approved Mental Health Professional and not practitioner. As many of you will know, social work is heavily linked to the role of the AMP, from its origins previously as an approved social worker role through to Social Work England's remit for setting core standards. The link has always been strong with social work. And so the AMP role can sometimes appear something of an oddity at times, and often gets misunderstood even within our own organisations. And to the outside world, I think we're often hidden from view. And one journalist recently referred to us as mythical beings, which is quite a nice tagline to have. I think it was on my Twitter for a while. Mythology aside, however, for me, the AMP role is still the best role in mental health services, and a really brilliant experience to add to your career. So while we've got 500, 600 of you, you should all definitely look into that because we need AMPs. So have a look and come and join us. As a social worker, I've always found that the independence you have in the AMP role is really humbling. Actually, the platform the role gives you in promoting the rights of the individual and the opportunities you have to put your values front and centre is a real privilege. And there aren't many jobs that can take you from a person's home one day to a prison cell the next, from a hospital ward into a police custody suite, or straight from the courtroom into a public toilet. So if you like all that kind of glamour, then definitely have a look at the AMP role. All of this, of course, is the Act allows us, of course, also to work with people of all ages and their families, their supporters, and you come into contact with all sorts of specialist services, all types of professional, and it all just adds to the richness of that role. And of course, this work often takes place at a time of significant distress and crisis for people. And in many respects, that just adds to the level of complexity and interest the role can hold for those who do it. And it's often a misconception, I think, about our role that it's simply there to detain people, to restrict them or to compel them. And while that is a feature of what we are empowered to arrange in the right circumstance, the role is much more than that. It's the role can be as a communicator, an advocate, a facilitator, sometimes even a diplomat, a collaborator with people. I definitely like the educative part of the role as well, kind of working with colleagues to increase their understanding and their legal literacy. But most importantly, of course, it's designed as a safeguard for the individual. So as a AMP Leads network, which is what we're here to talk about, we're now in our 21st year. If we could have the next slide, please. Thank you. So at its core, this network is a peer-led community of interest, effectively coordinated and managed by AMP Leads and AMP leaders on a voluntary basis. In the last few months, we've been fortunate to have secured business administrative support funded by Department of Health and Social Care via Lynn's office and her role previously, and provided by our colleagues at Research in Practice. And although we've only had this for a few months, this support is really helping us to scale up what we can offer both to our members, but also into the wider system, as we're obviously trying to come out of hiding and demystify ourselves. So what do we provide as a network? Next slide, please. So we have an active discussion forum with around 300 members, often able to provide quick advice and guidance to colleagues dealing with real life situations in real time. We have a network of regional AMHP and AMP lead forums that we link into, and who in turn they provide representation into our national steering group, for which me and myself and Christina are the chairs. Making sure that colleagues' voices from frontline services are heard, and that we're able then to represent more broadly. The steering group itself includes representatives from the Black and Ethnic Minority AMP Forum and the AMHP Research Network, along with some other colleagues as well. So we've got quite a broad scope of input into that group, which is really nice now to be a part of. And we also have some legacy members as well from our network's inception, going all the way back 21 years, as I said, and that helps us maintain a degree of continuity and expertise. Next slide, please. So as you can see from this slide, the goals of our steering group as part of the network includes ensuring that we maintain consistent regional representation and provide opportunities to support each other across the country. So we're regularly disseminating information to the network. We provide examples of operational and practice guidance, and increasingly we help set up and contribute to various online and in-person events such as this, as we seek to promote the role of the AMHP. Remember, it's the role that you're going to look at and potentially come and join us because we need AMPs, and attempt to influence national policy and the government when they let us. So that's kind of a broad overview of what we do, and I'm going to hand over to Christina now, who will talk in a little bit more detail about some of our work over the last couple of years. Christina.
Thanks, Robert. If we can have the next slide, please. One of the things that we do in the network is try to increase the visibility of the AMP role and really champion the knowledge and the expertise that is held by AMPs and the value of that to the whole system, as Robert was just talking about there. There isn't another role that spans across so many parts of the crisis system. And so we really think that strategic leaders can learn from AMPs. So we have made partnerships with key organisations like NHS England, the Department of Health and Social Care, ADAS, BASWA, the National Police Chiefs Council, just to try and represent those views and bring that expertise to the heart of policy making. But we also form alliances with other like-minded groups like the PSW network. We're forming more partnerships, Social Care Wales, and we also like to support the development of other networks aligned with our perspectives, so the AMP Research Network and the Black and Minority Ethnic AMP Forum. If we go to the next slide, please. This gives a representation of some of the work that we've been involved in and some of the influence that we've had. Some of the work on there that relates to visibility is representation to a whole range of different forums, presenting at events like this one, making media appearances to represent the AMP role and the perspective. And this year we saw our first AMP of the Year award, which was awarded to one of our colleagues, Kirsten Bingham. Well done, Kirsten. Again, showing that the AMP role is becoming more visible. We're also looking at a lot of policy and guidance development to help AMPs in practice and AMP leads and other parts of the system. So we've done quite a lot of work on right care, right person. I'm sure you've all heard of that. Supporting the policy development with the police and with NHS and with the Department of Health and Social Care on the social care guidance. We've had quite a bit of input. And also forthcoming this year, hopefully, is some more guidance on CAMS Tier 4 gatekeeping processes when we're looking for beds, which can be a real sticking point for AMPs and other colleagues within CAMS. Robert and other colleagues in the steering group have supported a rewrite of that guidance to help colleagues on the ground. We've also inputted into NHS England guidance on the role of the social worker and NHS trusts employing social workers, and supported a draft memorandum of understanding to try and help NHS trusts and local authorities collaborate in terms of training and approving AMPs to work jointly. And alongside the policy and guidance, some of these work streams relate to developing more knowledge around the AMP role and developing more evidence to support systems that are working in mental health crisis areas. So we've supported Jason around developing submissions to NIHR, looking at AMP service models, amongst other things. And we're also supporting the AMP Workforce Survey, which is an annual survey that helps us keep an eye on the workforce and map any trends there. And we're doing a lot of ongoing work to try and develop a national AMP data set that we think would offer huge value to systems in bringing all of that rich knowledge and data that AMPs have. Next slide, please. This covers some of our ambitions for the coming year. And Hannah, you talked really well about anti-racism and anti-equality, diversity, inclusion. Within the AMP Leads network, we're very much focusing on anti-racism at the moment, and that's because specifically there is a lot of work to be done around the overrepresentation of people from racialised communities within mental health service, particularly receiving compulsion in mental health services. So we're trying to do a lot of work around anti-racism and looking at how we, as a group of leaders, can lead anti-racist practice and lead and support the engagement of anti-racism. We also want to really highlight the prevention role that AMPs have and how that role can encourage partnership and collaboration, and we need all of our partners to collaborate and work alongside AMP so that we can have good prevention work. I spoke a little bit about AMP data, and again, that's something we want to continue developing this year, as well as being ready for Mental Health Act reform. We know that was kicked into the long grass, but we do expect it to come back, and so we want to be ready to support and influence any of that work. Leadership is another area of support, so we're wanting to develop leadership for non-social work AMPs, our nurse colleagues, OT colleagues and psychologist colleagues who can become AMPs, and supporting that, as well as developing support for AMP leads around the country and trying to develop more leadership within the steering group. And Robert and I will be coming to the end of our tenure as co-chairs this year, and again trying to help colleagues to come in and step up and take a turn with that role. Final slide, please. Just a brief word on what the AMP Leads Network can do for you. So for anyone, whether you're a social worker or an AMP or not, we have a Padlet page that's full of resources, links, documents, minutes from our steering group. We're trying to be very transparent. You can see what we're talking about, what we're working on. There's a contact list there for your local AMP lead. So if Robert's buoyed you to come and join the best job in the world, and it really is, get in touch with your local AMP lead. You'll find their contact details there and see how you can do that. If you are an AMP, you can keep in touch with who your regional AMP lead representation is, and you can get in touch with Robert and or I if you've got national issues that you want to escalate and you want to get involved. And if you're an AMP lead, make sure you're a part of the National AMP Leads Forum, you're part of the Google group, come along to our annual conference, and just keep in touch with us for any support that we can offer. That's it from us.
Christina, thank you. Robert, Hannah, Sarah, fantastic. You can see the networks are flourishing and all sorts of opportunity in the near future to develop all of that good work even further. So without further ado, I am now going to turn to Paul. Paul, are you okay to introduce yourself and give us some perspective from your position in Social Work England? Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jason. And yeah, thanks everyone. It's been really interesting to kind of hear everyone's presentation, and it's good to just before I kind of come to what's on the slide, just to kind of reflect on where we fit into all this at Social Work England. Oh, to introduce myself, I'm a policy manager here at Social Work England, and my responsibilities include mental health. So I'm kind of all over all this, which is why I'm popping up here. Yeah, so as the regulator, it feels a bit odd to say new, but we do still feel a bit new. We took on our functions at the very end of 2019, so we didn't have long before lockdowns and COVID, and so it sort of feels like it's a bit like dog years. We've had 2 normal years in the last 4 years or so. But in that time, we've really been getting into all the conversations. There's lots going on. There's obviously plenty of ways in which we can support AMPs and mental health social work more widely. And part of our role as a new dedicated regular, newish, is to get in there and find out what we can do usefully, where our regulatory powers and influence can help. And I think that's really the focus really of everything that I'm trying to lead. Our end is how can we be a helpful regulator? I know some people quail a bit when they hear the word regulator, and in some ways I don't blame you, but actually we've got statutory backing behind the powers that we have, and we do want to kind of introduce measures that will make it easier, be supportive, and just generally kind of recognise and credit the work, the importance of the work that you'll do. So I'll just turn to a quick update of the specific things that I wanted to mention in the last few years up to this point. We're now at a turning point. I think one of my colleagues, I think it was Robert, mentioned that we have standards. We hold the standards for AMP courses. We inherited those from the previous regulator, the Health and Care Professions Council, and we've updated those, and we'll be publishing the new version of those shortly. That's just kind of consolidating the standards as they were into our kind of Social Work England format, if you like. But we'll be publishing those in the next few weeks along with guidance, and then at the same time publishing new standards. I'm sure many of if you're involved in best interest assessor work. So there'll be new standards for BIA courses also published, and guidance for those. Those will come into effect a year later. There's the lead-in time for universities and course providers to adapt. So if you are a course provider, don't panic. It's not a sudden change. It's a normal practice of publishing the standards and allowing time for adaptation. And that's just kind of underpin, the sort of regime, if you like, of standards around the work. We will continue to support the wider work. Some of the stuff that my colleagues have mentioned, we've been involved in conversations around. Well, put on the slide there, new NHS guidance for supporting mental health social workers and AMHPs, but a lot of the kind of initiatives and roundtables and stuff I'm popping up at just to kind of hear and see what it is, where we can find opportunities to use our powers to provide some support. I've just jumped the tracks there. I should have put a line for the regulators first. Actually, we do obviously recognise that AMHPs are multi-professional, although the very large bulk of social workers. That's fine. We making sure that we align our work with the HCPC, who regulate two of the other professions, and the NMC, who regulate the nurses. So we're kind of able to sort of hold that on behalf of all four regulators, and that's significant because of what will come up in a second. And I would say underpinning all this, as I say, is engaging and understanding the needs of the professionals. That's really what we want to do. It's kind of easy to sort of arrive, in a regulatory role and dish out standards and dish out regulations. That's not what we're about. We recognise the challenge and the importance of the work, and we want to make sure that we use our powers, perhaps not to make it easier, but to provide the support that we can reasonably provide. Next slide, please, or I think just a click, which will make my 2024 and beyond menu appear. So what we'll be doing next, as I say, the publication of the new course standards will be coming in the spring, fairly soon. We just need to sort of get the last few documents prepared and finished. So that'll be on the way soon, and then new courses and everything will be approved against those standards from spring 2025. But the next question is, well, if we're regulating the courses, what do we do about individual practitioners? Is there a role for us in regulating, people who work in particular specialist areas, not just AMP and BIA? We would look at that more widely, but obviously those two areas are sort of given to us in law, so we'll the front of the queue for us to turn our attention to. So the question is really whether and how we should regulate them. It's nothing set in stone. As I say, we want to make sure that we get it right. We want to do things that are helpful, and we will be, over the summer, I'll be doing lots of work internally to prepare, how we want to do that in a helpful way, and then we'll look to make proposals towards the end of the year at the earliest. So don't panic, nothing will change. And even if once proposals do come out, I'm sure it won't be a reason for panic, because, as I say, we want to make sure we listen and learn and hear from you. But there will be some proposals about what we can do around annotation. You are entitled at the moment, if you qualified as an AMP, to be annotated, but we want to just make some refinements to those rules to get that working right, and just make sure that annotation actually sort of is a kind of a marker of quality, if you like, or it just sort of plays a more effective role than at the moment, where it's really just a indication that you completed the course, and that isn't, from a regulatory point of view, it isn't the most useful. So we will be looking to kind of find some positive uses for that going forward, and above all else, the same point as I made before, really, we will continue to engage and learn. I'm always keen to say I'm pleased to hear from anyone. Do drop me an email if you've got any thoughts. Might be a bit early if it's about AMP regulation, but why not? I'm happy to park emails and read them when I come to it. But I'm not a practitioner. I'm a policy expert, and my role is to get the policy right. But I can only do that. We can do that as a regulator if we listen to you, and that's very much the kind of angle that we take. Kate, actually, who started the session, is part of our regional engagement team, and I'm sure you'll hear from her and from lots of our engagement team over the course of Social Work Week. We're always keen to kind of listen and learn. So that's sort of underpinning all the stuff that we do. I hope that's a positive and encouraging for anyone who was a bit skeptical about us as a regulator. But I think hopefully we're kind of getting that message across that we're here to support above all else. I think I'm the last speaker. Is that right, Jason? So it's back to you for a wash up. Lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thanks so much. And it's fantastic to work alongside you so closely, given what you're saying in terms of being so open-eared about working with us to co-produce some of the different developments that you're working on. So it remains for me to provide some sort of drawing the threads together Although, as we've referred to, it seems that it's fair to say that the next steps for adult social work and adult social care will mean different things to different people, given their different perspectives. And certainly through the lens of the Office of the Chief Social Worker, what I've done over these couple of slides is just to bring some themes and issues in terms of some of the various aspects of work that Lynn and myself have been particularly focused on more latterly, and then moving forward into 24. And workforce is the most vital codependency that we have. Clearly, we need a healthy workforce, and some of the initiatives that have been developing, supported through the office, have been very much in that interest. So the first tranche of funding to grow more apprentices has gone out and was hugely oversubscribed, which was fantastic. There will be another tranche of funding in the new financial year, which again local authorities will be open to applying for, and hopefully that will be used to best effect. We're in the subsequent consecutive year. I don't know how many years it is now actually, but from the local the LGA workforce health check is now just in its concluding round of submissions, and there's been lots of publicity on social media to really support and encourage organisations to fill that in, to be able to provide some feedback about the social work experience in different employers. The fast track scheme that is commissioned through DHSE specifically for mental health social work, Think Ahead, is a very successful model, in the region of 650 or so graduates through that scheme over the last few years or so, and is a model that's highly attractive to be able to support colleagues who've taken the choice to climb into social work as by means of a career change, many of whom have then gone on to go and train as AMHPs, some of them who've then diversified into other aspects of social work, and seeing that particular scheme diversify across substance misuse as a more recent development is fascinating. And how can we use that model going forward, thinking about the sustainability of the AMP workforce, understanding actually what that role entails in the current operating environment, and working really closely with Christina and Robert and the whole AMP leads community to be able to try and make sure that we get some additional funding, but also some lateral system shift to be able to support the value of that role. And agreeing a more broader workforce approach to well-being. We've mentioned reform and legislative reform in different shades through the course of the last 50 minutes or so. We know that the Mental Health Act has been postponed for the time being. We are very optimistic and ambitious about it being introduced in the next parliamentary session, with fingers crossed. We're disappointed about the fact that the liberty protection safeguards and any announcements around codes of practice for the MCA have been upstanding. So we need, as a community, to think about how to support organisations to work more effectively in a proportionate approach to managing responsibilities in relation to DOLs, and without necessarily suggesting or intimating that there's any more progress or developments with regard to the Care Act per se. We mentioned the proportionate assessment guidance, which I would absolutely encourage you to go and look at. But let's mark the fact that the Care Act is 10 years old and has had quite a profound impact on what we do from a statutory perspective. Quality assurance, the CQC inspection assessment program and inspection is the main game in town. It's really important that we're really getting climbing on top of that and working with CQC to develop that from an assurance perspective. Again, thinking about safe care at home from a safeguarding perspective is absolutely critical. And if we can go to the next slide. The last three items that I would put on the slide there are around, again, really championing much of what has been heralded through the content in the various professional networks around anti-racist, anti-discriminatory practice, particularly around anti-racism, but the LGBTQ plus work that's been alluded to. And also, let's not forget, this is also Social Work Week, but it's also Neurodiversity Week this week as well, which needs to have a reference in acknowledging what we do. In the interest of time, I'm just going to really promote the need for more people to think about, more social work practitioners to think about funding opportunities around taking on research projects. NIHR have a number of different schemes to support social workers to undertake their PhDs. And then thinking about actually what grounds us in respect to leadership and co-production. I think you've seen the cohesion of the leadership team this afternoon. AMP leads, PSW leads, experts by experience, working really collegiately between each other and the Chief Social Worker's Office. And I think that with regard to being able to support the next steps with the social work and social care agenda, whilst recognising that the language that was used earlier on today from Beverly Tarker and not defaulting to the doom loop, I think that we can take away the fact that we're actually, there's a lot to be proud of and a lot to be really excited about in the world of social work. So it's 3:30. I'm going to draw the session to a close, or hand over to Kate to draw the session to a close. But I hope we've given you plenty to think about and something to take away. So thanks for your time this afternoon. And I'm sure, will the slides be shared, Kate?
Oh, yes, I meant to say that at the beginning, Jason. They most certainly will be available to attendees that came along today, so don't panic.
Perfect. So on the money, I think we finished there. And thanks ever so much for your time and for all of our speakers.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks to all of you for a fantastic presentation. And I do want to bring in our illustrator, Chris, at this point. So we've been very lucky for this last hour. Beavering away in the background, we've had Chris from Nifty Fox, design agency, illustration agency, creating a picture of the themes of what's been presented to you today on this session. And hopefully you can all see that in the screen now. Chris, I don't know if you want to quickly come on microphone and just talk us through what you've managed to capture. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see?
Could you give us a 30-second trot through? Yeah, we can see it.
You can see it. Okay,
yeah.
Great. So we started with the government's 10-year vision. Some of the things that were pulled out of that were this desire for people to live independently, focus on prevention, so sooner in the process, prevent these issues, and then focus on funding and digitization were two of the things. Then, sorry, I'm speaking very fast because I realise very little time. Jack's really great talk. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the different ways that you expressed that. So we've got the gate, so the growth assessments, time, enable, all through this lens of citizens and workforce, and the sort of outcome being co-produced services seems to be the key that you were alluding to, with lived experience and people's voices at the centre of that. Next up, we had Principal Social Work Network and their focus on compassionate leadership, especially after the pandemic, and reducing disparity in social work. And again, linking to Jack's point previously about amplifying the voices of people with lived experience and co-production. Next up, the AMHP network and their steering group, and just generally wanting to shout more about the roles of the AMHPs.
Chris, could I just come in? Can we make sure it's adult mental health professionals, not practitioners? This is my eagle eye.
Well spotted.
Thank you.
Well spotted, Jason. Thanks. Sorry, Chris, do go on.
Sorry, I must have said it because I knew not to say it, but I've written down practitioners.
We've all been there.
So speaking about the role, championing the role, supporting other networks with similar goals, and then providing policy and advisement. And then Social Work England at the end with their helpful regulation, not scary regulation, helpful regulation. The whole point is to engage and learn from social workers and to provide whatever policy and support they can. So that's
wonderful.
The 1 minute summary.
Thanks, Chris. That's marvellous. I was really talented to be able to capture all that in the way that you've done that. So thanks ever so much for sharing that with us. And thank you again to everyone, all our wonderful speakers, for a really enticing, gripping hours worth of what we can look forward to in this field over the next immediate few years. Just a reminder that you'll see in the chat we've posted a quick feedback form for this session to tell us how you found it and what your thoughts were on it. That's really helpful for us. And for those of you who are social workers who've joined us, we have launched a new survey that we'd love you to complete as well. There's a link for that in the chat. We'd love you to answer questions in that survey about the profession. This is recorded, so in this session, this material will eventually find its way up onto our YouTube channel. You'll be able to watch this session back as part of your CPD, and for those who are just interested in this field. And it just really leaves for me to say thank you again to everyone who came along. Do follow us on Twitter and Instagram and all the usual social media platforms with the hashtag Social Work Week 2024. And hopefully you're coming along to more sessions this week as well. This is just the start of it. So it's been great to have you along with us. We've had fantastic attendance here, huge numbers of people with us as well. So thanks again to everybody, and hope to see you all again soon at another Social Work Week session this week. All the best for now. Bye bye.